Ready to join me? Got your big old pre-stretched canvas? Ready to go? Let's have some fun. Hello everybody. Here it is then, my Bob Ross tribute of the year. Maybe not the only one this year. I keep saying that, don't I? I keep saying I will get onto my big canvas and then being too scared to do it. Well, this was a deliberate attempt to practice knife work. I might zoom back in again because it's better for you to see that than it is for you to see my face. There we go. So yeah, this was a deliberate attempt to practice some knife work with distant grey mountains and slightly less distant dark mountains, and then sort of rocky formations and the glacier. And as always, I'm happier with it now than I was when I did it. The sky, the first thing that I did was I mixed a nice sort of stormy blue colour, and then I touched a bit of black into it to dull it down, and it went green, and I went, oh no, I don't want a green sky. And so I got rid of that paint and wiped my brush off, but I didn't clean it because I wanted to still use it. So I just thought, I haven't put much paint in here, I've just sort of dabbed it in and seen how green it is and decided to not do it. So I'll just wipe it off and that will be sufficient. And I mixed up a nice grey colour and I dabbed my brush into it and I put it on the canvas, and the green came straight back out again. So I have got a bit of a green sky, but I don't know, it's quite moody, atmospheric, stormy. I quite like it now. And I'm quite happy with these clouds, these soft distant clouds. They were quite fun to do. I tried to do them with a fan brush sort of swirling around. Ooh, one of these fan brushes. Let me find one. Here you go, one of these fan brushes, okay. These fan brushes, these ones are really feathery, super light. These are Artway fan brushes, and I don't think Bob's can be this fluffy light. I think Bob's must be much, much firmer than this. So what I think I'm going to do, I think these are too big anyway. I think what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to cut them smaller and see if that makes them a bit stiffer, a bit easier to sort of stipple and work with. Because when I'm doing this, it doesn't make a lot of sound. When Bob does it on the canvas, you can really hear the kind of scrunch, and I know that sort of overemphasizes how hard it is. I know he probably doesn't actually hit it that hard, it's just the way it's picked up on the microphone. But I think I do want, I don't like the way these brushes work, so either I need to get some stiffer fan brushes, or I'm going to try and cut these down for a start to see how they work. You can see they're all sort of splaying at the ends, and some of them are kind of going into little grouped clusters, and it's just not working for me, so I need to get some new fan brushes. But I was quite happy with how the blending out of the clouds of the sky worked. It's all quite soft and distant, and I like that. And then I started putting these mountains in, and as always the knife work is just, I can't get it, and I am quite happy with the result. I say I'm quite happy. It looks better on the screen than it does in real life, but that's fine because it's a background for photographs. But yeah, I think it will work quite nicely for photographs, but I'm not totally happy with it. I do want to do some more knife work practice. I found a really good YouTube tutorial, again, another one, different one, and he was explaining that when Bob says to hold the knife really gently, he means like thumb and forefinger, and keep it really, really very lightly held here, not just how lightly you touch it to the canvas. So I was sort of holding it, not a lot like a plasterer's trowel, but holding it quite firmly, but then trying to really gently touch and control that. And actually I need to be a lot more sort of flexible with it. I need to not try and control it, let it do its own thing, as Bob keeps saying. But I'm not a one for letting stuff do its thing. I like to sort of have control over what's happening. And I had kind of an idea for this painting before I started. I had a kind of an idea what I wanted. It's not a direct copy of any of Bob's, although this bit's from a glacier in painting that he did that I very much wanted to bring. I wanted this painting to be themed on that. I wanted to do mountains because I wanted lots of knife practice, but these are not necessarily Bob paintings taken from Bob paintings. These are more things that I've kind of made up, which is kind of why they don't necessarily look that great. They're sort of a bit all over the place. I'm not quite sure where this one's coming up in relation to the other bits, where the light's coming from, but I think the lighting is actually quite nice. I think the sort of the kind of moodiness of the lighting works really well. And the idea that I knew that I wanted mountains, and I knew that I wanted a distant mountain and then a nearer mountain, because that's part of what I'm going to do on the big canvas. And then I wanted to try some rocks that didn't have this kind of mountainous blue colours on them, so I wanted to bring those in. This one, it was sort of a gap in the middle of the painting, and I was like, I want to do another piece in here, but I'm not sure what angle it should come at, so I just did that, and I think it works, but it does look a bit weird geometry wise. And I'm not sure what's happening with this mountain here that's up in the clouds. That was kind of to top off this glacier, but then you can't really see anything that's going on here, whereas you can on this one that's got this nice cloud floating across it. So maybe I should have done clouds across here and a bit of snow, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't, and I'm happy to call this one, well, mostly happy to call this one done. But what I really wanted was this glacier coming down here, and one of the things that I'm going to be doing next year is hopefully finally releasing the Huldra, the kind of ice barbarians. So I did want a snowy setting for those guys. So I wanted the idea of this kind of glacier trail coming down that they've been following. But I also don't want to have to just use my snow terrain. So this one I can kind of start. I can show it from here upwards, and I can use my snow terrain in front of it, or from the base here you've got this kind of plain of fields in front that I can put my regular terrain in front of, and it can be a bit sort of alpine, high on a hill with a lonely goat herd kind of terrain, with the snow in the mountains. And I was going to do a bit of sort of loose earth down here fading up into the snow, but I haven't done that. I could still do that. I could rework into it, but I don't think I will now. I've put these planes on in front. The one thing that I'm not really happy with on here are the trees. Again, they look better on screen than they do in actuality, and again that was an attempt to do it with these big ass fan brushes, just with the corner of them, but they're so flimsy that really they weren't transferring any paint onto the canvas, and it was looking a bit rubbish. So I think what I am going to do, and I'm sure I said this last year and I didn't do it this year, and I will probably forget again by the next time I do a painting, I'm going to get one of these little brushes, and I'm actually going to do it on this one now. I'm going to rework this, so I'm going to get a much smaller brush with a much darker paint on this once it's finished. I'm going to re-block out these trees, and then try and put some fresh highlights over the top that are maybe a bit, I don't know, a bit bluer or a bit redder than that, something to make them stand out from the grass a bit more, but certainly make them a bit darker. They sort of feel like they fade away there at the moment, and as they're the thing that's kind of closest in the foreground, they really need to have that kind of dark backing to them. I was having difficulty with this one particularly, and if you can see this kind of bare patch in the middle here, I was having difficulty getting this over the top of where I'd put thick paint on for this sort of middle rock formation. So now that that's dry, I can hopefully just go back in with the dark paint and splodge that on over the top and fix that. And I want to put some more bushy things down the bottom here as well. So yeah, there's my Bob Ross tribute for this year. Look out for this in coming months, hopefully, rather than years. In coming months, when we get the Huldra sorted and out there, and down the front here, just in front. If you can see, if I zoom in there, there we go. There's a few ranks of the new Miri figures that I'm currently painting. Yeah, you can't see those, but anyway, that I'm currently painting up. So hopefully those will be also ready to do something with in the near future. There we go. A tradition continues. I shall leave you with a beautiful mountain vista. I should come up with a name. What's a good name for this? Nasty mountains, deadly, stormy mountains, touching the voidy kind of mountains. Anyway, enjoy. Yeah, yeah, and I shall see you next week.